Today's date is April 19th, 2021. Time is 5 p.m. We'll call this meeting to order, the regular monthly commission meeting for the city of Clewiston. If you would all stand for our opening prayer and the pledge to the flag, please. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Mr. Martin, additions, deletions, changes?
Yes, ma'am. As I previously alerted the commission members, we have two additions to the agenda. It was an oversight under manager's report. We should have listed specifically the TDC appointment discussion. And so we'd add that under comments from the city manager, TDC appointment discussion, to make a recommendation to the county if you so choose. And then item E, Resolution 2021-45 regarding Lot 2 assignment in Commerce Park, and you have it listed a replacement agenda page for the Commerce Park items there to add item, or it adds item E, a Resolution 2021-45. Approving amendment to the contract for sale and purchase between the city of Clewiston and California Corporation for Lot 2, allowing to assign the contract to Simone Investments, which is owned by the same person, LLC.
And that's under agenda item number 7. We're adding
Correct.
E.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And you already have received the preliminary or the draft plat from the consultant engineer, Andy Tilton, for Commerce Park. Correct. If you have any comments on that, but that won't be up for action tonight. That will be considered by the Planning and Zoning Board in a meeting next week, and then it would come back to the commission for your May meeting for action.
And we can take comments on that at the end of agenda item number 7.
Yes, ma'am. Those are the amendments.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. At this time, we'll allow any public comments if there's anybody who would like to address the commission. Hearing none, do we have a motion to accept consent agenda?
So moved.
Moved by
Second.
Gardner, second by Pittman. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nay.
Quick question.
Go ahead, sir.
The National Day of Prayer, do you know if the Ministerial Association or anyone's doing anything?
I haven't heard any specifics. I understand they do it annually, but I haven't heard any announcement or received a notification about it. We'll send it out if we do, but I'm told they are planning to do it again this year, and that's why we put it on the agenda.
Again, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those against, nay. Motion carries. We have 2 resolutions that we're going to read this evening. Proclamations. First proclamation is for Water Conservation Month. Whereas water is a basic and essential need of every living creature, and whereas the state of Florida, water management districts, and the city of Clewiston are working together to increase awareness about the importance of water conservation, and whereas the city of Clewiston and the state of Florida have designated April, typically a dry month when water demands are most acute, Florida's Water Conservation Month, to educate citizens about how they can help save Florida's pressure water resources. Whereas the city of Clewiston has always encouraged and supported water conservation through various educational programs and special events. And whereas every business, industry, school, and citizen can make a difference when it comes to conserving water. And whereas every business, industry, school, and citizen can help by saving water and thus promote a healthy economy and community. Now, therefore, we, the City Commission of the City of Clewiston, Florida, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2021 as Water Conservation Month in the City of Clewiston, and are calling upon each citizen and business to help protect our precious resource by practicing water-saving measures and becoming more aware of the need to save water. In conjunction with that, we have a proclamation for Water Reuse Week. Whereas safe, clean, and sustainable water resources are essential to Florida's environment, economy, citizens, and visitors, and whereas although Florida's water supplies are finite, the state's population and need for water resources continue to increase. And whereas water reuse provides a means for conserving and augmenting Florida's precious water resources and is key to the state's sustainable water future. And whereas Florida has established the encouragement and promotion of water reuse as state objectives in chapters 373 and 403 Florida statutes. And whereas Florida has risen to be the national leader in water reuse, reusing 820 million gallons of reclaimed water per day to conserve freshwater supplies and replenish our rivers, streams, lakes, and aquifers. And whereas Florida's permitted reuse capacity is more than 1.7 billion gallons per day, approximately 67% of Florida's total permitted capacity for all domestic wastewater treatment facilities. And whereas Water Reuse Florida, the state section of the Water Reuse Association, has proclaimed the week of May 16th through 22nd, 2021 as Florida Water Reuse Week. And whereas the city of Clewiston has joined with Water Reuse Florida, the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, and the South Florida Water Management District in encouraging and promoting water reuse and conservation. And whereas the city of Clewiston has implemented a water reuse program and encourages efficient and effective use of reclaimed water. Now, therefore, we, the City Commission of the City of Clewiston, Florida, do hereby support Water Reuse Florida and proclaim May 16th through the 22nd, 2021 as Water Reuse Week in the City of Clewiston and call upon each citizen and business to help protect our precious water resources by practicing efficient and effective use of reclaimed water. Set my hand the 19th day of April, 2021. Okay, moving on, items 2 and 3, agenda item report number 2 and 3. These are the same accounts as we had last year. I'm sorry, Molly, did you want to make a comment?
No, is Ms. Pigman on the phone?
She could not attend. I do not believe if she was going to call in.
Yeah.
She could not attend due to the weather.
That's okay, we checked her.
So,
Okay.
thank you.
We did sign, though, and take a couple of pictures so that they would have that.
Okay, great. And one of the things why it was mentioned, since you allowed me comments here, on the reuse of water, I know that we have talked about applying for funding for water reuse for our wastewater treatment plant to be able to water our golf course and our fields.
Yes.
Have we been?
Yes, that is pending review by the state. We included it in the 13 million, I believe it was, application for funding for the wastewater treatment plant and to extend the rest of the way to Everglades and serve that area. And so reuse is a component included in that for potential consideration in the next permit.
That's after
Great.
treatment, right?
Sir? Yes, after treatment. Yeah. It would have to meet all the Florida guidelines, and that would require an upgrade of the plant. We cannot do it with our current treatment process. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? Items 2 and 3 are the same amounts as we had last year. These run for 6 to 8 years, but we're required to have a public hearing every 2 years. So, public hearing, interlocal agreement with Hendry County for distribution of the 2-cent fuel tax. Background and history. Florida statutes 336.025 requires the city of Clewiston to hold a public hearing every 2 years regarding the interlocal agreement with the Hendry County for the 2-cent fuel tax revenue distribution, second local option fuel tax. The 2-cent fuel tax is in place through December 31st, 2023. The interlocal agreement governs the distribution of the revenues from the 2-cent fuel tax with terms that follow the same date of expiration of December 31st, 2023. The city's last public hearing on the interlocal agreement for the 2-cent fuel tax was held on May 20th, 2019. The county notified the city of the date of their public hearing prior to its being held on April 13th, 2021. Both Hendry County and the city of LaBelle have indicated the current allocation is acceptable to them. Do we have any public comments on this agenda item at this time? Hearing none, there will be no fiscal impact without modification of the agreement. And this is just to conduct the required public hearing concerning the interlocal agreement. No changes to the agreement are recommended at this time. Therefore, no action is necessary. Do any of you have any comments?
No, I don't have any.
Okay, agenda item number 3. Florida State Statutes 336-025 requires the city of Clewiston to hold a public hearing every 2 years regarding the interlocal agreement. And this is on the 6-cent fuel tax revenue distribution local option fuel tax. The 6-cent fuel tax is in place through December 31st, 2030. The interlocal agreement governs the distribution of the revenues from the 6-cent fuel tax with terms that follow the same date of expiration of December 31st, 2030. The city's last public hearing on the interlocal agreement for the 6-cent fuel tax was held on May 20th, 2019. The county notified the city of the date of their public hearing prior to its being held on April 13th, 2021. Both Hendry County and the city of LaBelle have indicated the current allocation is acceptable to them. Do we have any public comments at this time on the 6-cent sales tax? Hearing none, there will be no fiscal impact without modification of the agreement. At this time, no changes to the agreement are recommended. We will accept comments. Discussion? Nothing heard. Let's move on to agenda item number 4. Resolution number 2021-38. Background and history. Resolution number 2021-38 approves change order 02 to the American Infrastructure Technologies Corporation, AIT, Inflow Infiltration Project Phase 2 construction agreement. During construction, an additional repair was necessary to complete the project. Do we have any public comments at this time on this item? Hearing none, the financial impact is $16,720.80, funded with the State of Florida Department of Environmental Protection State Revolving Loan 20% and a grant 80%. Recommended motion is to approve this resolution. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Thompson, second by Gardner. Any discussion?
What was the repair?
It was a collapsed line drop
Thank you, Dan.
in the Harlem.
Any other questions? Any other comments? All those,
The
whoops, go
same
ahead. Sir.
percentages apply? Grant percentages, 80-20
Yes.
to the change orders? Okay.
Right.
Any other comments, questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Motion is accepted. Moving on to agenda item number 5, resolution number 2021-39. This resolution approves the final pay request from American Infrastructure Technologies Corporation for the Inflow Infiltration Project Phase 2, contingent upon receipt of contractor's final release of lien. Do we have any public comments on this agenda item? Hearing none, the financial impact is $110,667.34, funded with the State of Florida Department of Environmental Protection State Revolving Loan 20% and by grant 80%. Recommended motion is to approve Resolution 2021-39.
So moved.
Moved by Pittman, second.
Second.
Second by Thompson. Discussion, comments, questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 6, resolution number 2021-40 approves the final pay request from Boromi Construction Incorporated for the lift station 21 and 24 bypass pumps improvements. Do we have any public comments on this agenda item at this time? Hearing none, the financial impact is $11,946.44 funded with the State of Florida Department of Environmental Protection State Revolving Loan 20% and by grant monies 80%. Recommended motion is to approve Resolution 2021-40. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Thompson, second by Pittman. Discussion or comments by the commission?
What was the improvements?
That was the bypass pumps. They tied them in for us. Well, the state also took that, we originally didn't have those funds, and the state made that a part of this particular loan.
Are those the new pumps?
Yes, we will be fencing those off too. I think we've had a few people make some comments, but we're looking into closing that.
Is the lift station rehabs on those going to be involved when the, I forget the other company's going to do evaluation?
Well, we don't have anyone. Tonight we want to close this out so we can move to the third phase so we can start with the lift stations.
Right.
And that'll be part of it, yes. We're evaluating it now. We're hoping to look to maybe get 3 to 6 million for this third phase with 80% forgiveness.
Okay,
Good
good.
deal.
We like that. We have a motion by Thompson, second by Pittman. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion is passed, accepted. Agenda item number 7 has a number of resolutions associated with this, and this all reflects the hard work that Mr. Morton has done on the Commerce Park. And we have got some definite movement here. Resolution number 2021-41 approves the contract for sale and purchase between the City of Clewiston and Hato Potrero Farms, Inc. of lots 7 and 9 of the Clewiston Commerce Park. Do you have any public comments on this agenda item? Financial impact will be a contract purchase price of $133,220.42, which price will be adjusted at closing to $1.20 per square foot. Recommended motion is to approve resolution number 2021-41. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Pittman, second.
Second.
Second and by Thompson. Any discussion or questions by the
I have a question.
commission?
Randy, do we know how many jobs they're supposed to be they're hoping to add with this expansion?
I know he was saying with regard to his expansion at his existing facility on Obispo, I'm trying to remember the exact number. I think it was a 20% increase in employment. And if I remember correctly, he's got in the 50 to 60 range, to 60 to 70. And some of them will be assigned to those facilities that he would construct in Business Park. I don't have a breakdown of how many, but some would be. And he's going to be building a structure on, at least initially, on Lot 7, and then later he's going to do something with Lot 9.
And that question was put forth by Commissioner Highslope for the record. Any other questions?
Are
Comments?
those temporary jobs, Randy, why they expand at the other facility? Then they'll come back?
No, I don't think so. I think these are permanent. Now, how many of them may stay at that facility once the other one's done, I don't know. But I anticipate he's still going to have functioning employees as he currently does on Lot 8 at his existing facility. He'll have some assigned to Lot 7. But
You have imminent plans to improve both those lots?
yes, he indicated as such. That's my understanding.
No? You're good, Commissioner Thompson. Okay. All right. Any others? Commissioner Gardner, questions, comments?
I will add that I know I spoke to Mr. Perez about employees. He didn't give me a number, but he's just saying right now he's struggling to hire employees, that many of them, when they come in for the application and go through the process, they decide that their current situation with unemployment is better than going to work. And so he's been working very hard and trying to hire more employees. He needs them. He really does.
Maybe that's reflective on his pay rate, not the people applying.
I don't know. I know he's been in business for a number of years and he's expanding, and he wants to see a success for the community as well as for him with jobs.
And the hiring issue seems to be a nationwide problem.
Yeah, and it's one that's going to change as some of those benefits that they've been receiving this year are going away soon. So maybe that will be a positive towards him being able to acquire more employees. But we're also working with the training opportunities as well as the Economic Development Council staff to work on those issues, trying to help them do what we can to assist him in being able to recruit.
Any other questions or comments? We have a motion by Pittman, a second by Thompson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Resolution 2021-42 authorizes a letter of intent and the negotiation of a contract with OSGC Services, LLC, for the sale of Lot 5 of Clewiston Commerce Park. Do we have any public comments on this agenda item at this time? Hearing none, the financial impact is the contract purchase of $279,097.98, which price will be adjusted at closing to $1.08 per square foot. Recommended motion is to approve resolution number 2021-42. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by,
Second.
that was by Heislope? Heislope, second by Pittman. Questions, comments by the commission?
Is this the one we changed the name on, Randy?
No, that'll come. I think that's E.
And Randy, since this is the new business or new business to our community, can you just kind of go over it for the public?
Sure.
What this company is?
For the public listening that do not have access to these documents, possibly, it's OSGC Services, LLC, a Florida corporation or a related entity in which Oliver Schlecht, I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly, is a principal. His intentions are to build a 100,000 plus or minus square foot warehouse facility, starting with an initial construction of a 20,000 square foot facility to begin his upfit and building of his operation and training. They will be adding to the warehouse in increments of 20 to 25,000 square feet over the next several weeks after he initiates and gets the first section up. Their intention is to have 40 to 60 employees at full operation, and they expect over 120 employees to be at the facility. Well over 120 is what he shared with me personally. They'll be doing a manufacturing assembly of manufactured steel frames for walls for single and multifamily residential properties, as well as warehouses and commercial and industrial facilities. They will be adding installation crews, post-construction consisting of about 8 team members each. He's proposing 5 of those, so that would be roughly another 40 employees at full build out. He provided a website that can be accessed on our information that's listed in your documents. They refer to it as Lee Gauge Steel Framing. They'll be having their own website in a few weeks on this specific operation, but they're already working with area entities, including trying to find a facility to begin training. They've ordered the machinery for the initial training functions, and they want to start hiring people very quickly to once this document is approved in a subsequent contract. Their plan is to initiate the training well in advance of the completion of the facility. So I'm very pleased to present this one. This is a little different, and I'll let the attorney comment on it. We discussed it as he sees fit, presenting tonight just this proposal or letter of intent, as I refer to it in the agenda documents, for your approval. That will give the attorney the opportunity to work with their legal counsel to address any contractual items that might deviate from our standard form contract that we've used on all the previous deals. I do want to say, for the public's information, before deferring to the attorney for any comments he has on that part of it, I deferred from or deviated in recommending the lower price per square foot based on the size of the property, it being the largest parcel left once we finish the subdivision of Lot 10. It's by far the largest. It will also is in recognition of the number of jobs far exceeding all the others that we've been discussed with combined, as well as the investment for this larger facility and equipment is going to be substantially higher than the others that we've been working with. And it is an incentive to incent them to buy Lot 5, which is not a criticism in any way. It's the same property, but it has limited access compared to some of the other properties, but nothing that's going to impede the use that's intended by this buyer. I'll be glad to answer any other questions, but attorney may want to comment further on the contractual part of it.
Because I have a question about the contractual. One thing I was really impressed with after speaking with you, Randy, not only the amount of jobs and his urgency to start, but his intention to hire local, not only local, hire our youth coming out of school, this trades program we have. Couldn't ask for anything better, anything more. But I would like to see down the road, since we've got some history out there with not following through, is maybe in the contract, some head count at a timetable that goes along with it. I don't think it's going to be an issue with this one, but it'd be nice to see.
Didn't appear to be. But thank you, and I didn't mention that specifically, but I did in the information I'd shared with the board. They have already reached out to the local school system to make this a track for the trades programs being taught at the school.
And we have a lot of people aren't even aware. We have a great program out there in high school, Mr. Swindle. And
yeah, I personally talked to him about it, and he's very excited for that program.
Be interesting to see how it comes out.
So Keitha was in the office today from Economic Development, and this is one that they've worked hard, to help the city, help them accommodate the need for that workforce that you're talking about, Greg. So I think it's been a nice show of the entire community and all of its pieces coming together.
One way we can keep our kids here in town.
I don't know if City Attorney, do you have anything to add to what I said, Gary?
Mayor, we wanted to reach out and start some negotiations with the lawyers from the other side of this transaction. It's a large transaction. We didn't want to send a contract that was approved by this commission to them in the fear that it might spook them or scare them off. And we wanted to let them know that we're willing to talk terms. So we will try to negotiate the contract as near as possible to your standard form that we've been using. With there's going to be some exceptions to that, which we'll note when we bring it back. This is a letter of intent. It's not binding on either party until we enter into that contract. So we're going to start those negotiations immediately tomorrow if you all approve this tonight.
Well, hopefully this price change shows a good faith effort on our side that we're willing to work with them.
Yep.
Any other comments, questions? This is Resolution 2021-42. We have a motion by Highslope, second by Pittman. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Under item C, Resolution number 2021-43 voids the contract for sale and purchase with Advanced Medical Sanitation Incorporation for the sale of approximately 1.5 acres on the interior northwest corner, designated lot number 10A, Clewiston Commercial Park, previously approved by the City Commission on March 29th, 2021. Do we have any public comments as to this agenda item? Hearing none, financial impact is $78,408, no change. Recommended motion is to approve resolution number 2021-43. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Pittman, second by Gardner.
Heisler.
Heisler. I'm sorry, you ladies both sound the same to me.
fine.
We have a motion and a second. Questions, comments by the commission? Yes, sir, Mr. Pittman.
Is this, did they just opt not to do the deposit? So this is their, on their end, that they're wanting to cancel?
No, they did fail to pay the deposit, and also based on further information that I've been able to gather since the contract was originally approved, management's recommending that the commission on the next item not go further with the zoning regulation modification because of the potential impact that would have on other property interests in the park. So they are interested in still coming to this area and going to look for other options, but they understand that this may not be a good fit here. And so that's been communicated with them. And so I wouldn't characterize it that they are asking for it, but it's my recommendation based on all those factors that we void the contract for their failure, and well as additional information we've discovered since the approval. And we will then proceed to market this location to others that are interested and move forward with any assistance we can give to try to find them a suitable location that would not require a zoning modification, either in there or out of the city, in the county, wherever it might end up.
That's all I have.
Any other questions, comments? This is Resolution 2021-43. We have a motion by Pittman, second by Hyslop. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Item number D under Agenda 7. Draft ordinance would amend the Code of Ordinances 110-495 subsection 2, conditional uses for the Commerce Park Industrial Districts, adding medical support services as a conditional use. There is no financial impact, and the recommended motion at this time is to not proceed with the consideration of the draft ordinance as a result of the action on item C. Any comments?
I'll be glad to answer any questions, but that is our recommendation to protect the interests of the other interested parties we have and not go forward with that since we no longer have a company that's going to be locating there.
Thank you. Moving on, item E, resolution number 2021-.
Would the attorney recommend we take an action on that recommendation to not proceed?
Yes, if you could.
I'll make a motion not to proceed, not to further proceed with the consideration of draft ordinance for the conditional uses in the Commerce Park, adding medical support services.
Motion not to proceed by Gardner, second by Thompson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Resolution 2021-45 approves an amendment to the contract for sale and purchase between the City of Clewiston and California Corporation for Lot Number 2, Clewiston Commerce Park, allowing the purchaser to assign a contract to Simone Investments, LLC. Does the public have any comments at this time?
Mayor, your standard contract is non-assignable, and this particular buyer has indicated they would like to close this in the name of Simone, as you indicated. They are a related company. You can see I've put in your backup the business layout of the two companies, and you can see that they're related, same owners. So we'd recommend that you go forward with this approval. It's scheduled to close before your next meeting. That's why we added it on tonight's agenda.
Okay. There is no financial impact. Recommended motion is to approve. Do we have a motion?
Second.
Motion by Thompson, second by Pittman. Discussion? Questions, comments?
No effect other than name change.
So,
Correct.
All those in,
oh, well, let me just say that this resolution also authorizes the mayor to go ahead and sign the closing statement and closing documents, which we don't have prepared yet, but we don't have another meeting coming up. We didn't want to drag you in just to do that. So once we get those documents, Randy will look them over, I'll look them over, Sherry will look them over, and if they're okay, we'll give them to mayor to sign.
thank you, sir. All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
Madam Mayor, since we're still under agenda item number 7 and
Yes,
we're
ma'am.
talking about the Clewiston Commerce Park, and I'm not sure if I need to bring it up now or if I can need to make it up on my comments, but I have a recommendation that I'd like for the board to consider
Yes, ma'am.
under our CPID. When I went back and looked at it, I know that prohibited uses and nuisances is something that could be considered under our CPID. And I would like for us to recommend to the manager and to our attorney to add a prohibited use specifically having to do with biomedical or biohazardous materials in our park. I'm not sure what the right wording would be. I know that there's laws and ordinances and regulations, but I just would like for us to be clear at the very beginning that what are prohibited uses. There might be other things that I don't know about, but I wanted to bring that up while we were still talking about the Commerce Park at this time. So that's what I would recommend, that we come up with a prohibited use for the CPID. So it's not something that would be an issue for the existing businesses, especially having to do with FDA and food and USDA issues. So I'm not sure what the wording would be, but I'm just thinking that a prohibited use for the CPID is what needs to be considered by the commission.
Is it prohibited if it's not listed?
Yes.
For instance, like now?
Generally, allowed uses are, of course, allowed. Anything that's not allowed or conditional use is prohibited. And that's the pattern throughout your code. There's nothing that prevents you from saying specific uses as long as you identify them carefully and define them are prohibited in your code. And I think that's what the commissioner is suggesting here. At least that's what I'm hearing.
Right, specifically anything that would be, I guess, a detriment to the existing businesses or the ones that are going in when it has to do with food safety issues.
Wasn't we have to change the code to accept that anyways?
Yes. Yeah, this would just be to pursue.
And we would have to accept the sale of anything and its use, right?
That's correct.
I just
Would
think
that
it's a
take any
net,
flexibility from us?
So the issue is one of how to define the uses and then put them in the various categories. So if you start from the premise that if it's not allowed, it's prohibited. So then you come in and you have a use and you try to see if it fits into any of the uses that are already allowed. That involves some staff interpretation, as you saw in this project that we were just talking about. And so if you add a list of prohibited uses, you still get into an interpretive situation because you may have uses come in that don't fall either way. And then again, you're in the middle trying to interpret which way it goes. So, but if you have a very specific use that you know under any circumstance you're not going to allow in this particular zone, then it would make some sense to just say right off the bat, this use is prohibited. Did I answer your question?
Somewhat.
Kind of.
Yeah, I think if I could elaborate just one point, I think the advantage that on this particular specific thing was to send a strong message to those existing businesses and potential businesses that that's not going to be an allowed use. And to consider it, it would require a modification to take it out of prohibited and put it as an allowed, which would be a pretty challenging thing to do, I think.
in the public process.
Yeah, and the public process that would go along with that. So it'd be more for messaging, I think, and Gary's explained it exactly as I understood it. Because you can never have an ordinance so comprehensive that lists every
everything,
possible use, or it's just not possible. I mean, it would be voluminous, and you'd still miss some because of the technology and evolution of the business industry.
That's my recommendation, and I wanted, the city manager and the city attorney to look at that and come back with a recommendation for under the CPID for us to consider.
I mean, I think it needs to be broad because of what you just said, technology. I mean, in 5 years, they may come up with something that's named medical biohazard waste, but it's done on the point of this pencil. I mean, with technology, you just don't know. So I don't want to prohibit something that would, down the line, not affect FDA or USDA. I don't mind putting something in there that's pretty broad, but I also don't want to spend hours and hours of the attorney's time. Sorry.
We still have approval or disapproval.
Right, we would still have to approve it or disapprove it.
Well, but I think that those type of businesses could go into many other commercial industrial areas, with it wherever the land is available for them. There's guidelines for that. I'm just talking specifically about the Commerce Park because there's a close proximity to food source. So anyway, I just wanted the commission to I just wanted to bring it before the commission, and I'd like for, I think it's the best interest of the Commerce Park and its future that this be something that the city manager and the city attorney come back with a recommendation for us.
So if you guys would craft something, put it together,
Okay,
and then
that's a
do
consensus.
you want to
We'll do.
email it so that we could take a look at it before?
Yeah, we'd have to go through a public
Right.
hearing process, and I don't think it's urgent that we have to do it
Right.
tomorrow, but it will take a little while. But we can bring it back, and you can look at it, and as stated, you'd make a final judgment whether you think the ordinance needs to be amended or not.
I think that kind of ties right into what Greg said about the $1.08 being a good faith gesture. I think that would be a good faith gesture to a potential business that may or may not be backing out, and one that already exists and is expanding there.
Well said.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Any other comments or discussion under agenda items number 7?
Other than the
The
plat,
map of- yes,
if you have
then
anything on
let's
that
take a-
plat, city attorney may want to make comments about the draft plat that you got a copy of tonight that Andy handed out before the meeting. So I don't know, you just want to give them some briefing that you gave me on it.
Yeah, yes, the plat, as far as the dimensions, the lots, everything, no problems with any of that. We have some slight changes to the wording on the first page regarding the dedications and title certificates that we're going to be working on, myself and Andy, before it goes to the Planning and Zoning Commission. We've already discussed it, and I'll be sending him my thoughts on it probably tomorrow. Just wanted to let you know that that's not final language tonight.
Looks nice. And I like that, even though it's platted Schiller Court, that we changed it to Commerce Park, and that's in there. So thank you, Andy.
Anyone else have any comments, any questions? No? Moving on to agenda item number 8, resolution number 2021-44, authorizes an application to the U.S. Congress for a congressional appropriation request to improve portions of West Ventura Avenue. Do we have any public comments on this agenda item? Hearing none, the financial impact is $999,857.68 to be funded by a congressional appropriation if approved. Recommended motion is to approve Resolution 2021-44. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion
And
Thompson,
amen.
second by Gardner. I'm sorry, Commissioner Day.
I said so moved and amen.
Okay, there you go. Yes, I drive that every morning. Any other discussion by the?
I would just like to thank the city manager for, the fast turnaround that he had to do on this, because this just was a complete
notice.
surprise. And it's good news that you said amen to this. But I'd just like to recognize Randy's hard work on getting this done in such a
thank
short amount of time.
Yeah, no, it's just to further elaborate on the process and the reason it is so welcome opportunity is I think it's been at least a decade since there's been a opportunity for what quote unquote used to be called earmarks. This is an outgrowth of some of the recent changes, but Congress apparently for the first time will, assuming it's all funded and the level of funding is sufficient, be providing an opportunity to communities in each member districts to apply for funding. And so we were under the guidance we gave us, it needed to be under $1 million. Well, we eked that out, and it needs to be a priority project.
Didn't see how far.
We already had pretty much all of the work, preliminary work that had to be done, and this is one of the few that fit into that both of those categories. But I appreciate the efforts that the commission had previously made it a designated priority, put it in our CIP, and authorized a SCOP grant application to DOT. But as we explained at that time, if we're successful in getting it funded through that route, it would be at least 3 fiscal cycles, 3 years before the earliest we would be funded. And amen to the urgency and need for this, and that's weaned throughout the wording that we're using in the application. We worked hard on it today, and hopefully we'll finish it in the morning and have it out tomorrow and to the congressional office. And then by the end of the month, the rest of the process, as I understand it, is the congressman's office will have to prioritize the projects, applications they received. I believe each member is limited to 10, and hopefully ours will be one of them. I know the county is considering also seeking some funding for different things. They discussed it briefly at their last meeting, and the county administrator and I have talked about it since. I'm not sure exactly what the details of theirs will be, but by the end of the month, they have to submit their priorities, and then it goes through the typical congressional budget approval process in the weeks and months ahead until it's finalized. And so we'll keep our fingers crossed. This would obviously expedite completion of the project we already have planned, and we'll be bringing to you soon bids on Ventura East, and this would carry it all the way to WCO, and as we previously reviewed. And I thank you for your support tonight to allow us to submit this and get it moving. And thank you for the kind words. It has been a challenge to get it done, but fortunately everybody worked together, and we already had a lot of the work done. We just had to form it for their format for the Congress. Thank you. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Randy, is the second phase already in the pipeline and the requested FDOT we talked about several months ago?
It was submitted through the Heartland Transportation, but again, that's a 5-year plan, and the earliest, as we understand it, is 2025 that it would be in the plan itself.
Can we move that along to another project, or is it too late for that?
Engineer and I talked about that. That would be our goal if we were successful with this, because we should know, within the next several months.
So we wouldn't be losing out on that.
We don't have, it doesn't impact the state process, but if, as long as we do it within the next year, I would hope we could transfer it. We already talked about it. The second priority was the Francisco section in towards the lake, the North Francisco. So I would come back with a recommendation that we ask them to shift it, because it's a similar size project, and make that the next priority. But good question. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? I had a number of amens. How many ayes do we have?
Aye.
Opposed?
Hallelujah.
There you go. Motion carries. Next agenda item is old business. Are there any questions, comments about old business? Comments from city manager. We'll talk about the TDC.
TDC appointment selection or recommendation. I shared with the commission the action that the county commissioners took at their last meeting, and I don't have any further comment unless to give us guidance, I guess you would say, on the appointment process. So I'll answer any questions you have. I sent you out a summary of where we stood since the previous commissioner's resignation. We have a vacancy in the city appointee that has to be approved by the county commission.
So we need to
So,
fill that.
yeah.
Go ahead.
So let me, just so I'm clear, I'm a little muddled here.
Me too.
So right now, we do not have a city commission representative.
It's vacant.
Okay. So can we make a nomination?
Yes.
I nominate Hillary Highslope. Move or whatever.
We have a motion for Commissioner Highslope on the TDC board by Pittman. We have a second by Thompson. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, congratulations.
I get to stay.
Yeah, you get to stay and you get an extra duty. There you go.
I have some questions now.
Okay, next steps. Now, of course, if I could, before the question is, I see it, this situation, I'll defer to the attorney if I misstep on this, because we are sort of charting new ground based on the action the commissioners took at their last meeting, at the end of the meeting. We will make a nomination based on that action to the county commissioners for consideration at an upcoming meeting of Commissioner Highslope being the city appointee. Assuming she accepts that role, I assume so since she did not object, then that will necessitate her to submit a resignation, I presume, to the TDC for her current seat, if that's the proper way the county wants to handle it. That'll be their call. Since she represents a different seat on the board currently, and that will leave a vacancy on the TDC for the seat she currently occupies, and she
And it
might
has to be directly connected to tourism.
exactly. And then there are guidelines within their ordinance on the makeup of anyone who's going to take that. But the only guidance we currently have is it can't be another city commissioner. That's really the only guidance we have based on the commission's action. And who makes a nomination for that? You may tell us some of the history of how that's been done in the past.
I think if you have interest in applying, and you'll know too, if you have interest in applying to be a part of that TDC board, when they have vacancies, you essentially apply for that and it goes to the TDC board. And then they decide whether or not to pass that that person off to the BOCC for final approval.
And that next meeting, I believe, was like the third or fourth Thursday in May.
I think it's the third.
So whatever that date is, third. And so if anyone has any nominations, obviously we want to see some.
I was ready for tonight, realizing that there would only be one city commissioner on the TDC board. I would like to recommend for the commission to consider the nomination to the Board of County Commissioners for Steve Bazinski, who is president of the Hendry Glades Audubon Society. Heavy birding tourism influence, bringing folks to Hendry County to actually support Hendry County tourism heads and beds. And also there are 2 vacancies on the TDC board at this time. Also for Brenda Lopez, who is a chairperson for the Clewiston Museum. She is also involved through the museum for tourism. I would think that both of those would represent Hendry County well and work closely with the Clewiston Chamber. And I think that those would be just an asset to the TDC.
But I don't think we make those suggestions.
I think the actual
They can be made
ordinance.
by any interested party.
yeah.
Yeah.
The actual resolution or the TDC paper says that the Clewiston City Commission can make recommendations for the TDC board.
Gotcha.
So then it would go, as you described, to the TDC for their consideration. I guess is they could chime in if they choose to. They may stay silent, and then it would go on to the, or we can put it directly to the Board of Commissioners.
I think, at this point, it should go to the board. I mean, there's 2 vacancies, and I believe that these 2 individuals would serve Hendry County well, since there are 2 vacancies, and that we've made accommodations based on their decision not to allow 2 city commissioners to serve on the TDC, while as there's 2 county commissioners serving on other boards together without a problem.
So do we need to make a motion to
That would be.
pass that recommendation
Yes.
on to? Okay.
Seeing that I don't know any of these people, I'd like them to come before the commission before I make a recommendation. I don't know these 2 people from Adam. I mean, that's makes sense to me.
Okay.
If they're interested, express their interest and why and what they'll do for us.
Does the TDC have a application? I'm sure they do.
I'm trying to remember. I think I just had to write a letter of interest. I don't think that it was a formal application process.
And I
Is
think
that how you remember?
I know, since I was appointed by the commission, I don't think that there was any application. But I think that these 2 individuals would gladly fill out any paperwork, but they have already proven themselves with tourism by their roles that each of them have played. Brenda is a lifelong resident. Mr. Bazinski is at least, I would say, a good 10 years in the community working through the Henry Glades Audubon. So
What's the next TDC meeting?
I've got it on my calendar.
And I would like to request that the city manager forward to all the commission the
Probably May
TDC
20th.
information as well.
LaBelle.
Sure. The ordinance, the county.
No,
ordinance? Oh.
just the actual because there's stuff happening on the TDC
Oh,
that
you
we're
mean
not aware
on a
of.
regular basis?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I've been going to their meetings, but I can certainly forward you information on their discussions, minutes, things like that.
And the next county commission meeting is
Thursday? Next Tuesday?
Tuesday the 11th. Oh, excuse me.
The 27th.
Yeah, they've got one coming up
27th.
for then, 25th.
They had one last week.
I'm
no,
sorry,
27th.
27th.
Yes, they did.
of April.
They did.
27th, their next meeting, and then the next TDC is.
Yeah, I think it was last week
Tuesday.
where they made those changes
Okay.
What the date?
during business by district.
I think it's the. Must not be the 13th.
I think we should do what we can to,
The 20th of May would be the next TDC meeting after the county commissioners meeting.
I think we should do what we can to make that recommendation to the county before their next meeting on the 27th, get it on there.
That's what my thought was. That those are 2 vacancies, and I think that they should be.
I'm hesitant on making a recommendation from a recommendation. Just- But I understand that.
I do feel like there might, like it once it's public knowledge, I feel like you may have some unqualified people come out, but you may have additional qualified people come out.
Yeah, because it has to be directly involved with tourism.
Right.
And I think it's hedging the process.
We should give everybody a chance. I don't think it's that urgent. We've gone, when did you get on? Last month?
Me?
On this commission?
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's,
One of
Yes and no. There's a lot of money on the table.
Yes.
There is a lot of money on the table, and they had a conversation
And
about
evidently
it
they
at the
just
county
discovered a
meeting
lot.
the other night.
No, it's a
No, actually, the
it's a
money has
reserve
been
that's
that
been
actually has been
accumulating.
accumulating because the reason why that funds are in there are because of the heads and beds tax,
Heads and beds.
which depends on hotel rooms.
Yeah, they get a
So that has been accumulating. So I believe at the last meeting there was over 300,000.
500 plus in
500,000.
reserve, and they get over 2 something every year.
And half
I
of
think,
that's
I
already
think it's
been.
a little, maybe something we can take a look at. I think it's a little biased that there's specific language in there. There can't be 2 city commissioners meetings on there, especially the back and forth that I've seen on the meeting. We'll spend it here, we'll spend it there. But there are multiple county commissioners on the board?
No, there aren't multiple county commissioners on that board.
On that board. There's on other boards. There's
Okay.
2 county commissioners on another board.
Right.
Does it seem like there's a back and forth where they're going to spend that?
And it,
I just think that, Lake Okeechobee and the birding and just our museum and the number of tours that come through there, that we're heavily involved in tourism.
and where's the possibility for the opportunities for heads and necks?
The
Now, the bottom line is Clewiston puts in the most money,
Yes.
but, and I don't know, you'll have to answer this, is there not, I know it's all in one account, but is there not a ledger
You put in
that's kept?
75, you get 75? No.
No, that's,
No, I mean, if 100,000 goes in, it's not split 50/50? Is there a
It
percentage?
is. Well, no, I don't think that there's a defined percentage. I think there's an
Not defined.
unspoken,
There's no rule
the
that
projects
requires.
are that they're bringing
Okay,
forward.
then our
It's a
money's
majority
not-
vote of
then
the-
50% of it's not going anywhere. That's what,
It's a majority vote of the TDC to make a recommendation
Right.
on disbursements.
The
but then
TDC
the
is an
county commission
advisory
makes the
board.
final decision.
It's 9-member advisory board.
That's
One
it.
from the county, one from the city of Clewiston, one from the city of LaBelle, and then the 6 members are countywide.
And so many of them have to be hotelers, and so many of them, the remaining, have to be connected to tourism, and restaurants don't count. There's very specific guidelines.
right, but it's the urgency seems to be the pile of money sitting there. But if 50% of that money is definitely going to go to this side of the county, I don't think there's an urgency to
There's
not
no
get-
assurance
No,
of that.
no one has said
No.
that.
There's nothing, there's no written guidance.
Right.
LaBelle has a project they want funded right now, and there was something brought up about.
Yeah, that's about a half of that fund balance, as I understand.
Depending on
It hasn't
sewer
been acted
subject.
upon by the commission,
So
but
it's not written in stone, it's 50/50.
it's verbal.
Because one day it will be reversed. LaBelle, I believe, one day will be putting in most of the money, just because of the growth that's happening. It might take 20 years, but, but anyway,
It's
long
based on
story
hotels
short.
for the most part,
Right.
and RV parks.
I mean, I definitely know the one lady. I don't think I've met the other gentleman that you recommended. I don't have a problem. if
Mr.
you wanna
Brzezinski.
Recommend Miss Lopez. I think I'm kind of like Greg. I'd at least like to meet the other person. I mean, I'm sure he's a fine person.
I've met
There
him.
might be someone else in our community that, like you said, is qualified that may want to put their application in.
Well, just as a thought, there's maybe, I don't know if it's a compromise or what, but you could go forward with the one to fill the vacancy that Ms. Highslope would be creating with her vacancy in the known seat. If you wanted to nominate one for it tonight and then consider the other one.
If I can be
that other seat's been
transparent,
vacant for a while, as I understand it. I don't know who held it or how long, but
I believe that was someone from LaBelle.
and it's been the last couple of months or longer. I don't know how long.
I
that
can't
seat's
remember
been
the
vacant.
gentleman's name, but it's been vacant for a while. As far as the seat that I'm vacating as the chamber, Molly mentioned the tours that we do. Generally, during a non-COVID year, if you will, that's about 8,000 people that we bring out from coastal communities from October to about May. I was hoping, that we would be able to get with our board, since yes, they are coming to the museum, but they are coming through the tours that we facilitate. And I would like to see us find someone that is connected to that aspect of tourism and perhaps connected to our festival event as well. Not our, the Chamber's festival event, but our community's
She a Clewiston
festival
resident?
event. I'm sorry?
She a Clewiston resident?
Who?
Both are.
No, she's whoever. The thing is, Hillary, I think that, because the TDC is and I don't know how it would work out, but whoever you're going to be working with, it's part of it would be on the TDC, then, the Sunshine Law applies. And I don't know how you're going to talk to them about the tours and everything else that goes on being on that TDC board.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's ways to clear it up, so to speak. But I just think that anything that you're involved in, it's going to be difficult to have somebody else on that TDC board because you're both working together and then both on the TDC board, which is just like this commission.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't think that I'm going to be directly working. I mean, I don't even have a human in mind. I just,
Is Miss
So anyway, those are my recommendations. Obviously, there's a lot more discussion to be had. I just think timing is of the essence since
And I agree with
Melanie's not been on that board since January. Here we are, April. It looks like maybe May. So that was just why I made the recommendations. I think both of them are very qualified individuals. Brenda's been here all her life. I think all of us know her through the Clewiston Museum. I think she was a viable candidate if we just are going to make one recommendation. But if not, we could wait till May. But I just think that, in my opinion, time is of the essence.
Is that a nomination for Miss Lopez?
Yes.
Is she agreeable to do it?
Yes.
Don't you have to be present to accept a nomination?
No.
No.
So we have a motion to nominate Brenda Lopez from the Clewiston Museum as a recommendation to BOCC for representative on the TDC. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Pittman. Motion by Gardner, second by Pittman, I'm sorry. Any other conversation, any other discussion, any other questions, comments?
so just because if this board decides to nominate her, it skips the TDC and goes straight to the BOCC?
The BOCC is the one that makes the decision.
Right.
It would be up to
It has
the
to be.
county.
But
Have to
if Susie wanted to apply to be on that board, she goes to the TDC before she goes to the BOCC? Just
On the
Susie
ordinance,
Jones?
On the ordinance, it says it goes to the BOCC.
See, that kind of hedges the nomination, puts her first before any other.
Well, we don't know that. I guess that would be
Better say.
determined by the county because I don't know what their formal process is for applicants. I don't know if they apply to the county if that's what the ordinance says. Maybe as a courtesy, they've been allowing the TDC to make a recommendation, but I've not seen anything in the policy or the ordinance that requires a TDC nomination, but it may be a practice that they've used over the years, but it would be a county decision, not ours.
But the recommendation doesn't have to come through here.
No, except for the city commission
Right.
seat. Yeah.
Any other questions? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
That carries 3-2 in favor. Mr. Morton, did you have anything else?
No, ma'am. Thank you.
Mr. City Attorney?
Just want to let the board know that the briefs have been filed now in the Clewiston Commons matter with the special magistrate. I'll be sending you all a copy of those tomorrow. And Robert Sherman and Kyle Dudek did a great job on those. I'd really like to thank them for their hard work on that matter. Thank you.
Commissioner Thompson, anything?
No, it sounds like some great things are happening in the Commerce Park. Jobs coming to Clewiston. And can't wait to see what the future holds there and our new infrastructure project. Not new, but newly funded, hopefully.
I hope so.
And that's it.
Commissioner Pittman?
Where did we end up with the AOC accepting cash and/or payments?
We'll be presenting all of that at our workshop coming up on May 3rd. And
May 3rd is the workshop.
yeah.
Okay.
And then we've discussed the processes. We'll be making recommendations, or some of it will just be administrative reports on the changes we made, but some of it will be some actual recommendations to the board that would require board action regarding police department as well as animal control.
Okay, good.
I've discussed it. We're looking right now at how the processes and things that we would use to collect funds. One of them being cash in and of itself. Can we do something other than accepting cash, period? And, there's a lot of technology available now to do a lot of other ways.
Well, I think just the police department is always open.
Yeah, and that's one of the things we're looking at is having it funnel through there and so forth, as we discussed.
Yeah, you can make any kind of payment there. It should be relatively safe. But for our animal control officers to carry cash and have it in that building is just not a smart thing at all.
That's what we discussed, yes, sir.
And I was going over some of the action items on the list since I got on the commission. And some of them are getting pretty old. Can we get this kind of updated?
Sure, I'll be glad to update.
Things like, are we still interested in selling the old police department?
Yeah, I've had a discussion with a member of the commission today about that, and I've talked to other members. I've got some new thoughts on that in terms of potential options for that facility. And I was going to bring those up during our pre-budget workshops and things. And the same with the naming of facilities, bring that up at one of those workshops as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's all I have right now.
Thank you.
Commissioner Gardner?
Yes, I mean, I had looked at the list as well, and I was in hopes that we could start getting an update on the Main Street corridor plan and where we were at on
Sure.
all that.
Yeah, in terms of the vision
Process,
plan.
right? No, I'm talking about our ordinance.
The ordinance things. Yeah, I'll be glad.
Revitalization plan.
I'll be glad to give y'all an update at one of those workshops on that as well.
Well, and this has been to me, as far as this list, it's been the one that's the longest.
Sure.
And I know it's not been easy, and it's been obviously difficult for us to get to the point, but I think that our highway is, as we've mentioned before over and over again, that is the front porch of our community, and we haven't made any progress, definitive progress as far as the look.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one was, I know about recreation. It's a big topic, but I think that it's something that we need to I'd like to have you give us an update sooner than later about the hiring of the recreation director and those programs for, going into the summer.
Yes, ma'am.
And I think I saw a pastor here tonight. I don't know. Yes. I didn't know I think that.
It was after 5.
Yeah, it was after 5. So maybe he could lead us in a closing prayer. Just a thought.
Okay.
Since he's one of the pastors through the Ministerial Association.
Anything else?
No,
Commissioner Gardner.
thank you.
Commissioner Heislope?
Just real quickly, I will echo, I don't remember, I think it was Greg, about the progress at Commerce Park. I think that's really exciting stuff, and I am pleased to see that all moving forward. And I'm pleased to see the way the city is working again with economic development for Hendry County and finding bodies for these businesses. The last thing we want is for businesses to come here and get set up and then not have a workforce available to them. So we have a lot on the line, not only in the park and the way it builds out, but also in our reputation as a community, whether we're able to staff projects or not. So I know that hasn't been easy, but Randy, you and your staff have done a great job with that. And I'm also looking forward to the May workshop and a conversation that I had earlier with Randy, looking through the departmental monthly activity reports. I feel like there's a lot of information there, and there's a lot of information missing. So I look forward to seeing how we can make that a little more comprehensive of all the departments in the city. A lot of them are represented, but a lot of them aren't. Other than that, that's it.
Can I tag?
Absolutely.
She just
Go ahead.
reminded me of
Commissioner
something.
Pittman, go ahead.
A report, the animal control report. I see they did make a stab at it. I appreciate that effort, but it's
There'll be more in the May 3rd. Yeah,
2% of what I asked for.
as you say, when we do the workshop, we're going to do a demo of our capabilities with the new software that we have that'll be able to produce lots of data.
That's what
Well, but
Randy and I
this
talked
This has
about.
nothing to do with software. This just has to do with producing the report.
Yes.
And then the other thing, if you'll also make sure the volunteer application for the AOC, and maybe for any department that uses volunteers, that ours needs to be updated, at least the one from animal control, because there's really no hold harmless. The city's at a great risk at this point, if we even have any volunteers now.
Currently, we don't.
There's nothing on our volunteer application that relinquishes the city from any liability if they get injured or bitten or something. I would even recommend no volunteer activity until we update that.
Good. Yeah. Other than our boards and commissions, obviously, you're talking about people that are actively engaged.
Yeah, actually
in
be in the field,
operations. Yes.
or even someone that might volunteer at the golf course.
Yeah.
Right
sure.
now, if they get hurt,
Well, any
we're in trouble.
operations. Yeah. And currently, I don't believe we have any, but I'll verify that.
I'd add too, if there's any contracts drawn up to be signed, that you do that with the attorney, not.
Okay. Yeah, we have
one
an
else.
oversight over. Okay.
Since we're talking about the reports, I know we just mentioned about some of them, but to me, some of them that are in here are very disjointed. There just
Yeah.
needs to be a little bit more attention, I think, given to the formats that they're do it 3 or 4 pages, but it doesn't seem to be all meshed together. So, and then also some information we're not receiving. And I know I've sent you a couple of them about activity that's happened in the city, but it's not in these reports.
And Commissioner Highslope and I discussed that. One of my goals, administrative goals, is to get some consistency and so that we don't just inundate you with a bunch of paper, but it has something valuable. And I think most of it has evolved over the years.
It has.
And
So as we're talking about it.
they've gone all kinds of directions. So I think we need consistency and also some. We talked about timing and other ways to try to make it where departments can just put the data in there and it comes to us automatically.
Well, and that's the thing about programs, like you mentioned, Animal Care and Control, the new program that you were wanting to show.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's very important, actually, because we don't want our staff having to sit down and devote 3 or 4 hours of their day to reporting, because that's 3 or 4 hours of their day that they're not doing something else.
Correct. Yeah.
So programs are very
A lot
important.
more
Click, click, click.
technology uses now that are not expensive that
Right.
can expedite that and make it more consistent and form to a compatible outline overall of what the board is interested in terms of data.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you for all that input.
So can we get a little update on the pool and the splash pad? I know that they're not going to be open this year. That's
Yep.
kind of a moot point. That makes me worry even more about what kind of programs we're going to be able to have this summer, if any.
Yeah, I've been having questions on those. I'll give you a quick one that's not a good one, but the facility can't be reopened, the pool facility, until it meets health department and state guidelines. And that will be a significant upgrade that, in my opinion, will only happen if we have some sort of grant funding in a fairly large amount to make it happen. And even then, I think we need to rethink what we bill back. So it's something that's more suitable for the kind of uses that the community currently has. With regard to splash pad, other than any efficiency things we can do, we didn't fund to have that for this fiscal year. And but it is capable of being reopened. We're just trying to figure out ways we can make it more efficient and not use so much water, make it more less budget impact on it. But in terms of the pool, there is no option in the cards for this year, and based on our budget, the splash pad either.
Randy, those upgrades, those aren't COVID related, right? It's just.
No, it's structural. We've got some structural. It's one of the oldest, if not the oldest, public pools in Florida.
It's about the 40s.
Yeah, I think Sean, it was built a couple of years after he was an adult.
Yeah, Sean was like, it looks like Sean was about 25 then.
Yeah, he's older than the pool, I think, but
And I
Something
just,
like that.
as we look at that facility, I've always had a lot of consternation over the limited hours that we open that. You know, we are talk about heads and beds and visitors, and all sorts of people come from up north, and we would utilize most days during the winter that facility. You know, there's ways for solar heating, but and so I just want to make sure that we're giving due attention to how that's going to be the best facility that we can provide, not just for our citizens, but for our visitors, and not have such limited usage anymore. That's a lot of money to invest
It sure
to
is.
sit there.
And some of you, I've had some brief conversations regarding it. I think that's really what you got to decide. Are you committed to providing it as a service, and
Right.
is it a priority service for the kind of costs that you have associated? And if so, you either all in or you're not. I mean,
Right.
it's. I don't think that's been the way it's existed in the years past, from what
Right.
I've observed. It's been underutilized, and maybe that was the condition, maybe not. I don't know what the
Could there be
factors of
monies
that.
out there if we used
It could be
it in
grant funding.
different manners?
It could be grant funding to
healthcare related.
get it, but you could partner with. In one community I was in, I don't want to get off on a tangent on it because I get excited talking about these kind of things, but we did a partnership with a medical facility, actually a hospital, and they used it for aquatics and rehab, and they paid part of the operating cost as well as the capital cost.
Sounds like a good project for some TDC money.
Yeah, of course, I will have to say the downside with it is that's an outdoor facility. Most of the time they want an indoor facility, but for other reasons, but like a YMCA kind of thing. That's the one I was successful in working on. But we can look at it, and yet at the end of the day, I think you either all in or you're not. Even if it's grant funded, you still got to operate it, and operating has a cost.
gotta-
And if you're not going to do it, maybe there's an alternative use for that space that would be less labor intensive, less cost intensive, and certainly a lot less capital cost, because that's really the challenge. I mean, we're talking about substantial
Yeah,
expense.
I know it's difficult to put a dollar on it, but you have a general.
It's several $100,000 in my opinion to rebuild it.
I was going to say 500,000 to 700,000.
Probably
500 and 700,000.
quarter of a million, half to a quarter, $750,000 could be your budget if you built something back similar to what's there and meet the current codes and do the things that the mayor just suggested. You make it more functional with heating capabilities and things of that nature. It's very expensive. It's expense just sitting there. I mean, we've got to
Yeah.
keep it. So it's a tough one. And you think about all the community's changes. Of course, we've got a sweeping demographic. And again, I apologize if I'm belaboring it, but I think it's a significant point for you to be thinking about before we get into real discussions about it. Is the demographic. We have a lot of folks who have their own pool, and we have folks who have other amenities, and you have a lot who don't. And that's really where the balancing act really is challenging, is how do you meet that? And is it a demand that would, it certainly is useful for summer programs, for teaching swimming, things like that. That's one of the certainly primary advantage to have a facility of your own. But an outdoor facility, even in Florida, has its challenges, and maintenance-wise and otherwise. And as you know, we don't have it covered. It's just fenced. So anyway, thank you for bringing it up. But we will be talking about that more as we get into some of our goal setting and planning.
And I know that you mentioned the splash pad, and I know that in years past, because the youth center was open, and because there was a recreation director there and staff there, they had kind of kept an eye out on what was going on the splash pad, or if they were out and about in the community during the weekends. But before we closed the splash pad, I was concerned on the weekends the amount of adult people that were
Taking a bath?
using that splash pad as with family members or without family members or teenagers, and it's built for small kids. And I know we have the birthday parties, but I think that we're going to have to really focus on that and place on there the guidelines of what that splash pad was built for, and it was for little kids, not for adults and
And how often you
teenagers.
gonna have it open? I
Yeah.
mean, the hours of operation is real critical to the costs, and we did it on a very limited basis the last year that it was open. And
Is that water in and out?
yeah,
Is it recycled at all? No reclaiming it?
no, there is no provision for that in the current design, which makes it
Expensive.
obviously very expensive.
Yeah, we did have an estimate on
I think it was $30,000 a year just in operating costs for the water, if I remember correctly.
But then we looked at doing reclaiming.
Oh, you
water,
did have
and
a
it was
discussion on that.
exorbitant to
It
be
was a
able
huge
to.
amount, and now with everything that's gone on for the health issue,
But it'd be almost,
I don't even
it'd
think
be
I'd
almost
like to
equivalent
consider
of,
that.
it would be almost equivalent of what we have to do to wastewater treatment plant, because you have to meet those water quality standards, and if it's exposed to people or the environment, it has to go back through it. And
Right.
and so there
We
are
looked at a lot of options to make it, less
So then if-
costly location.
Then we need to look at all of that holistically then. If that's not something that we're going to be able to do and get the bang for the buck for our kids to get out there and use it, then what do we need to do instead? Because
what is the
it's
alternative?
heartbreaking when you ride by there and it's
closed.
weekend afternoon and it's hot out and it's closed.
I'd
It
love to
just-
see it open again, but I think that we're going to, and I don't know how monitoring the staff on the weekends or during the day.
Right.
I think it's going to take some monitoring or some posting of some information there, because it seems to me that everything happens on the weekends when everybody knows that no one's around.
The reading of information is read it and weep, because we're going to do what we want to do. It's going to take the monitoring. We're going to have to be creative in how we get somebody out there.
Randy's going to have to work weekends.
When it's
Yeah, already more weekends.
umbrella up and
That's
sit
fine.
out there.
I'll do my part.
I'm too fat to be on the screen.
All right.
All right, that's all I have. Anything
folks.
else?
We adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Pittman, second.
I'll second.
Second by High Slope, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
you all.
Meeting's adjourned. Time is 6:26.